Good afternoon, Committee on Finance will come to order. First up, it is House Bill 1239. We have Attorney General's Office.
Good afternoon, Chair Luke, committee members. Lance Goto with the Department of the Attorney General. Just offering comments on the part of this bill related to the Law Enforcement Standards Board. The department prefers the provisions contained in House Bill 892, which this committee passed out on February 24th. That bill is much more comprehensive in addressing the Law Enforcement Standards Board's concerns, primary concerns being funding and resources and an extension of the deadline to meet its statutory tasks. I believe the deadline for the board to finalize its standards and certification process currently is December 31st, 2021, which has passed. So an extension is warranted. This bill, the provisions in this bill do not address those primary concerns. So we would respectfully recommend that if you pass out this bill, that you consider removing the Standards Board provisions from this bill and allow those matters to be addressed through House Bill 892. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, it is Department of Transportation.
Chair Luke, Vice Chair Yamashita, members of the committee, the DOT would like to echo the AG's comments, and we would like to say, please take a look at the funding. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up is ECOU. Okay, if not, that's all the testifiers. Any questions? If not, let's move on to the next bill, House Bill 1744, HD1. First up, it is Hawai'i Housing Finance and Development Corporation, HHFTC.
Hi, Chris Woodard on behalf of HHFTC. We stand on our written testimony. I would also like to note, though, that we appreciate that this draft eliminates the mandate for giving priority of low-income housing tax credits to permanent supportive housing projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, it is Hawaii Public Housing Authority.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chairs, member of the committee. The Housing Authority stand on its testimony and support. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is DLNR.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Ian Hirokawa with DLNR Land Division. We'll stand on our testimony in supporting the intent of the measure and offering comments and be available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Mr. Morishige.
Hey, good afternoon. Scott Morishige, Governor's Coordinator on Homelessness and Chair of the Hawaii Interagency Council on Homelessness. I'll stand on my testimony supporting the intent and offering comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Partners in Care. Lastly, it is Catholic Charities of Hawaii.
Good afternoon, Chair Luke, Chair Yamashita, and members of the committee. I'm Betty Lou Larson with Catholic Charities of Hawaii, and we're also a member of Partners in Care. We strongly support this bill because if Hawaii is going to end homelessness, we need to have more units for the chronically mentally ill. This bill would actually widen it to other very vulnerable populations, which we also support. But it remains very, very difficult to find landlords in the community for these populations, especially the chronically homeless. We can't end homelessness unless we have units. This would be a good first step, a good start to actually getting units where we could help many people off the streets. I think that we also have to consider the balance, of course, but if you think of the state bond cap, I understand there's an issue with the bond cap, and we support housing being a priority for the bond cap. However, if there's $250 or $300 million to go to housing, we feel that this would be a small amount, 25 million, to go for housing for permanently supportive housing. We also feel that we do need to balance housing for all levels of our state, but if the state, the legislature is considering a bill to target $150 million for incomes at 61 to 100% AMI households. So again, we want to balance that. We feel there should be all levels, but this is a particularly needy population that we really can't find landlords in the community to solve this problem. We need to build housing specifically for vulnerable populations like this. Thank you very much for hearing this bill.
Thank you. That's all the testifiers. Any questions? If not, why don't we recess until 2:30 for decision making, and then we can proceed with decision making on the other bills. So we will recess until 2:30. Aloha Committee on Finance will come to order for decision-making on our 2 o'clock agenda, then followed by our 2:30 decision-making only agenda. First up, it is House Bill 1239, House Draft 1. Recommendation is to pass as a HD2, effecting the effective date and technical non-substantive changes. Any discussion? If not, please take the vote.
Okay, House Bill 1239 HD1 with amendments. Chair votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye. Representatives Bronco,
Aye.
Eli,
Aye.
Hope,
Aye.
Iligan, aye, Bronco. Oh, I'm sorry, Kobayashi,
Aye.
Martin,
Aye.
Ishimoto, aye, Perruso,
Aye.
Sayama,
Aye.
Tam, aye, Todd,
Aye.
Wahlberger,
Aye.
McDermott, excused, adopted.
Thank you very much. Next up is House Bill 1744, House Draft 1. Recommendation is to pass as a HD2, blanking out the amount and technical and substantive changes. Any discussion? If not, please take the vote.
Okay, House Bill 1744 HD1 with amendments, noting the excused absence of Representative McDermott for this and the next agenda. Are there any reservations or no's? Adopted.
Thank you. Next up in Agenda 2 is House Bill 2511, House Draft 1. This is a bill that we heard on Tuesday, March 1st, 2022 on our 11 a.m. agenda. It's House Bill 2511 HD1. Recommendation is to pass as a HD2, incorporating the DHHL amendments and technical non-substantive changes. Any discussion?
Madam Chair,
Representative Kobayashi.
I agree that the HHL needs money. But as pointed out by the Tax Foundation, there are some administrative problems, it seems, within HHL. I followed up on Tax Foundation's testimony. They have federal funds that have not been spent, including having spent only about half of federal funds given to them in 2015. And because they have not spent down all of those federal funds from 2015, they are unable to use subsequent federal funds that amount to at least $10 million. So as Tax Foundation says that there's some dysfunction involved in not being able to spend existing federal funds. Perhaps an effort could be made to see what legislative solutions could be addressed, such as more positions, perhaps some exempt positions or a combination of exempt positions and civil service positions. It is fairly obvious that these problems are systemic, and since they go back many years. So perhaps a solution would be to give them the money to appropriate $600 million, but give it to them in increments. Certainly, HHL cannot spend $600 million in 1 year or 2 years, or perhaps even 3 years. This was done over 30 years ago for the DOE, Department of Education, where they received $630 million over a 7-year period. And even then, DOE had problems spending the money. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? If not, please take the vote.
Okay, members voting on House Bill 2511 HD1 with amendments, noting the excused absence of Representative McDermott. Are there any reservations? No's? Adopted.
Thank you. Next up is House Bill 2510, House Draft 1. We had a lot of discussion among the caucus members and about the subject. So the recommendation with the concurrence of the subject matter chair. Recommendation is to pass as a HT2. So as of January 1st, 2023, we will be increasing it to $13 and $1 increment thereafter until 2028, where we'll hit $18 with similar corresponding tip credit increase. We will be removing the CPI provision. We will be removing all other credits other than the refundable EITC. We priced out the EITC and it's $40 to $50 million. After evaluation, the other credits for a working family may or may not be significant in light of the fact that it will be increasing it from $50 to $150 on a yearly basis, which may not be significant, but because in the budget and because through the bills, we are increasing rent subsidy and we're trying to increase preschool open doors and childcare expenses. It is really trying to focus on the overall working family support. So with that, and it will be upon approval and for taxable year 12/31/2022 and other technical changes. Representative Todd.
Hi, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to, I'm going to be voting aye, and I recognize that a lot of hard work is being put in by a lot of very people. My only concern is I personally don't really believe in the tip credit. I believe that the state minimum wage should be a mandated wage paid by employers, but it should not be a restriction upon employees in terms of limiting their earning power. So I don't personally believe that restaurants or similar industries should be left off the hook in terms of what they're obligated to pay their employees. But I recognize that there's no such thing as a perfect minimum wage bill, and I am happy with some of the progress made in this committee and give that respect out to the chairs who've been working very diligently for many months. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up is Representative Sayama.
Thank you, Chair. I just have some clarifying questions regarding the proposed amendments to this measure. First, did you mention that aside from the EITC being permanent and refundable, all other tax credits were removed from this measure?
Correct.
And with regards to the tip credit, would that be increasing 25 cents proportional to starting 2023 to 2028?
In January 1st, 2023, it will go to 150, and then it'll mirror what we did in the previous underlying bill.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Thank you. I think Representative Tina Walberger, did you have a question?
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate the fact that the committee has chosen to accelerate the schedule for increases. I will be voting for this bill in aye, but with reservations, with deference to all the people languishing at poverty wages and the fact that this bill is still a little bit behind the market. ABC stores paying $17 an hour right now. Hawaii News Now just released an article that Target is going to start paying $24 an hour to hard to staff stores. So, and my small company is currently paying a $20 minimum wage. So with reservations and solidarity with folks that are working hard as advocates on this issue and to the folks that are still not making a living wage. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Representative Perruso.
Thank you, Chair. I had previously voted no on this measure, and I think that the work around the schedule for the increase is important and positive, and I appreciate that. I will need to take a closer look at the impact of the elimination of the other tax changes. And I am strongly opposed to the tip credit, so that remains problematic for me. But in recognition of the movement on, just the schedule, I'm going to be voting with reservations today.
Thank you very much. Any other discussion? No other discussion? If not, please take the vote.
Okay, members voting on House Bill 2510 HD1 with amendments, noting the reservations of Representatives Perruso and Wildberger. Are there any other reservations?
I'll vote a reservation.
And Todd, Chris, I think you had reservation too, right, Chris?
I'll be voting straight up, but I just want to kind of get some comments on the record, but straight up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any others? Any no's? Okay, I'll repeat. Voting with reservations are Perruso, Tam, and Wildberger. McDermott excused. All others vote aye. Adopted.
Okay, thank you very much. Next up is House Bill 1840, House Draft 1. This was a really tough bill. The Land Use Commission has proposed some amendments, and we will be passing with HT2 incorporating LUC amendments just so that we can get feedback on the amendments, and it will be a continued discussion and technical, not substantive changes. Any discussion?
Oh, Chair, what were those amendments from the LUC?
I gotta look it up.
Because I was gonna know on this one.
Yeah, you can just retain your no and then look at the LUC amendments because yeah, sorry, I don't have that. with
Okay,
me.
Chair, thank you.
Yeah.
Let's do this measure. Thank
Okay, any other discussion? If not, please take the vote.
Okay, members voting on 1840 House Draft 1 with amendments. Are there any reservations? No? Yes.
And again, I'll look at the amendments.
Okay, so you're, Representative Martin, you're voting with,
For the original one.
I'm sorry?
No.
I mean,
No.
not for the original. Okay.
Okay. Martin is no. Perruso, are you no?
I am a no until I look at the amendments.
Okay. Are there any Representative Tam?
Reservation.
Reservations?
Then Wahlberger is a no.
Okay, any other reservations?
Reservations.
Reservations for Kobayashi. Any other reservations? No. Okay, I'll repeat. Voting with reservations are Representative Kobayashi and Tam. Voting no are Martin, Perruso, and Wildberger. McDermott excused. All others vote aye. Adopted.
Can the Finance Committee members stay on? Or can we send a?
Yeah.
We'll send you a new Zoom link. Can we do a quick meeting? Thank you. Committee is adjourned.